Picture this. You're 28. You make $58,000 working IT support. You've been saving $500 a month for 3 years straight. You skip Starbucks. You drive a 2014 Honda Accord with 140,000 miles. You live with 2 roommates to keep rent under $1,000. You're doing everything right. You log into your Vanguard account after 3 years of grinding and see $19,847. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You stare at that number thinking, that's it? 3 years of saying no to everything? Your friend just bought a Tesla Model 3. Your college roommate is posting from Bali. You've been eating meal prep chicken and rice for 156 weeks, and your entire net worth wouldn't cover a down payment. Here's what nobody tells you. That crushing feeling that the math is broken, that you're doing something wrong, that investing is a scam designed to keep you poor while you're young, you're not crazy. The math actually is broken, but not how you think. Because here's the paradox. Getting from $0 to $100,000 is harder than getting from $100,000 to $1 million. Mathematically, psychologically, practically harder. I know that sounds impossible. $1 million is 10 times bigger. How could the smaller number be harder? Let me show you why the start is brutal and why understanding this is the difference between grinding for 40 years or taking your foot off the gas in 15. If you want to understand wealth mechanics without the hype, subscribe. What I'm about to show you is math they don't teach, because if everyone understood it, the financial advice industry would collapse. Let's get into why your first $100,000 feels impossible. Here's the thing, most financial gurus get completely wrong about building wealth. They tell you compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. They show you charts of exponential growth. They say, just invest consistently and time in the market beats timing the market. But that advice ignores the single most important truth about compound interest. It's completely invisible when you're broke. There's a term for this phenomenon. It's called the wealth acceleration point, and it was popularized by financial independence researchers who analyzed thousands of investor portfolios over the past 20 years. The basic idea is simple but brutal. There's a specific threshold of capital where the physics of money fundamentally change. Below that threshold, you are the engine. Above it, your money becomes the engine. And honestly, it explains why most people quit investing better than any behavioral psychology study ever could. Let me show you what I mean with someone real. Meet Sarah, 26 years old, marketing coordinator, $52,000 salary. She reads all the right books, she listens to all the podcasts. In January 2020, she opens a Roth IRA and commits to maxing it out. She's fired up. She invests $6,000. The market has a great year, up 18%. December 2020, she logs in, excited to see her gains. Her balance? $7,080. She made $1,080. That's real money, sure, but she could have made that same $1,080 by picking up 3 weekend shifts at her old college bartending gig. She could have made it by selling her old laptop and some clothes on Facebook Marketplace. Year 2, she adds another $6,000. Now she's got $12,000 invested. Market goes up 10%, she makes $1,200. 2 years of discipline, 2 years of saying no to vacations, no to the nicer apartment, no to the car upgrade. Her reward? $2,280 in gains. Here's what her Instagram feed showed her during those same 2 years. Her high school friend bought a boat. Her cousin renovated her kitchen. Her coworker leased a BMW 3 Series. Sarah's sitting on $14,280, and $12,000 of it came from her own paycheck. Only $2,280 came from the magic of compound interest. This is the danger zone. This is where most people look at the math and think, what's the point? But here's what Sarah didn't understand yet. Here's what most people never understand. She wasn't investing for the gains, not yet. She was building the machine that would eventually create the gains, and that machine costs exactly $100,000 to build. Let's run the actual numbers on why this phase is so brutal. When your portfolio is small, your contributions dominate everything. The market returns are mathematically irrelevant. Math breakdown number 1. You have $5,000 invested. The market has an incredible year, up 15%. Your gain? $750. That's less than 2 weeks of rent. That's 1 decent paycheck. That's 3 dinners out with friends. You could have generated that same $750 by working one extra Saturday a month. The market didn't give you anything you couldn't have gotten by just existing slightly harder. That's not a typo. Now here's where it gets dark. Most people think the solution is to find better returns. They start chasing crypto. They start watching YouTube videos about options trading. They convince themselves that if they could just get 30% returns instead of 10%, they'd be fine. But here's what actually happens. A 2019 study by Dalbar Inc. analyzed investor behavior over 20 years and found that the average investor underperforms the S&P 500 by about 4% annually. Not because the market is rigged, because when you're desperate for gains and your portfolio is tiny, you make emotional decisions. You panic sell during dips because you can't afford to lose money. You chase hot stocks because you need to catch up. You overtrade because watching your portfolio sit there doing nothing feels like failure. What does that mean in practical terms? If you have $10,000 invested and you underperform by 4% annually because you're trying too hard, you're losing $400 a year compared to someone who just bought an index fund and forgot about it. Think about that. Being desperate for returns costs you money. But here's the part that nobody talks about. The part that genuinely frustrates me. The financial advice industrial complex knows this. They know that when you're in this phase, optimization is irrelevant. But they sell you courses on stock picking anyway. They sell you premium newsletters. They sell you crypto trading bots. Because they understand something you don't. When you're poor, you're profitable to sell to. Let me show you another story. Marcus, 24 years old, makes $48,000 as a graphic designer. He's got $8,000 saved in his Robinhood account. He reads an article about how some guy turned $10,000 into $100,000 trading options in 6 months. Marcus thinks, that's exactly what I need. I can't wait 30 years for index funds to maybe work. He buys a $500 options trading course. He subscribes to a $99 a month trading signal service. He starts trading. Month 1, down $800. Month 2, up $200. Month 3, down $1,100. 6 months later, his $8,000 is now $4,200. He's paid $1,094 in course fees and subscriptions, and he's convinced he just needs to learn more, try harder, find the right strategy. Here's what Marcus didn't understand. With $8,000, even if he'd somehow achieved 50% returns, that's $4,000. If he just worked a part-time weekend job at $20 an hour for 10 hours a week for 6 months, he'd have made $5,200 with zero risk. The math is cruel. When you're small, the market cannot save you. Only your labor can. Let that sink in. Now let me show you the exact moment when this changes. Math breakdown number 2. You have $100,000 invested. The market goes up 7%, a normal year. Your gain, $7,000. Pause. Think about what that number means. For most people under 35, $7,000 is more than they can physically save in a year after rent, food, car payment, insurance, and basic living expenses. Your portfolio just contributed as much to your net worth as you did. You've effectively hired a second worker who shows up every single day, doesn't complain, doesn't drink your coffee, and adds $7,000 to your pile without you lifting a finger. This is the moment when the physics change. But here's where most people mess up. They don't understand how long it takes to get to that moment. Let's run a realistic scenario using data from Bankrate and Vanguard's actual investor returns. You're 25. You commit to investing $500 a month, $6,000 a year. You put it in a simple S&P 500 index fund. You assume a 7% annual average return, which is conservative based on historical data. Year 5. You've contributed $30,000. Market gains approximately $5,760. Balance $35,760. Do the math on that. After 5 years of discipline, 60 months of transfers, 60 months of saying no to spending, you've put in $30,000 of your own cash. Your market gains, $5,760. That's 16% gains versus 84% contributions. 85% of the money in your account came from your own sweat, your own paycheck, your own discipline. The market bought you a used Honda Civic. That's it. This is the danger zone. This is where most people look at 5 years of sacrifice and think, this isn't working. They see $35,760 and think, I could have spent that $30,000 on a new car, better apartment, and 3 vacations, and my life would be exactly the same. But if you stop here, you're walking away right before the explosion happens. Because what happens next is not linear, it's exponential. Let's keep running the numbers. Year 11, balance, $100,130. You did it, $100,000. Now watch what happens. Year 12, you contribute $6,000. Market gains, $7,210. Balance, $113,340. Hold on. Your market gains just exceeded your contributions for the first time ever. Year 15, balance, $158,750. From year 11 to year 15, you added $58,750 to your net worth in just 4 years. It took you 11 years to get the first $100,000. It took you 4 years to get the next $58,000. The snowball is rolling. But here's where it gets really interesting. A study by 4-Pillar Freedom analyzed this exact progression and found something shocking. Each subsequent $100,000 arrives faster than the last, even if you never increase your monthly contributions. 0 to 100K, 7 to 8 years. 100K to 200K, 5 years. 200K to 300K, 3 to 4 years. 300K to 400K, 2 to 3 years. By the time you hit $500,000, you're adding $100,000 to your net worth every couple of years just by waking up. Math breakdown number 3. You have $500,000 invested. Market returns 7%. Your gain, $35,000. That's more than the median American saves in 5 years. That's a full year of living expenses for most people. That's a brand new car appearing in your driveway annually without you doing anything. That's not a typo. Now here's the part that will genuinely blow your mind. Math breakdown number 4. Let's say you stop contributing entirely once you hit $400,000. You're 40 years old. You're tired. You want to ease off. You don't add another dollar. You just let it sit in an index fund. At 7% annual returns, age 45, $560,000. Age 50, $785,000. Age 55, $1,100,000. You became a millionaire by doing literally nothing for 15 years. Meanwhile, someone who starts at age 35 trying to get their first $10,000 will grind for 7 years just to feel like the math is broken. Here's what actually happens to most people who don't understand this. Jennifer, 32 years old. She's been investing $400 a month since she was 26. 6 years in, she's got $38,000 saved. She sees her friend bought a condo. Another friend just got engaged with a $12,000 ring. Jennifer looks at her $38,000 and thinks, what am I even doing? I've been grinding for 6 years and I can't even afford a down payment. She stops investing. She pulls the money out. She buys a car, upgrades her apartment, goes on a vacation. 10 years later, that money would have been $180,000. 20 years later, $520,000. 30 years later, $1.2 million. She traded $1 million for a 2016 Mazda and a trip to Cancun because she didn't understand she was 3 years away from the math flipping in her favor. Most people quit right before the engine turns on. Math breakdown number 5. Here's the brutal truth about that first phase. From $0 to $50,000, your contributions equal 92% of growth. From $50,000 to $100,000, your contributions equal 78% of growth. From $100,000 to $200,000, your contributions equal 54% of growth. From $200,000 to $500,000, your contributions equal 35% of growth. By the time you hit $500,000, compounding is doing 65% of the work. You went from being 100% of the engine to being 35% of the engine. That's not luck, that's physics. This isn't just unfortunate. This isn't bad luck. This is systemic design.
The entire financial advice industry is built around keeping you in that first phase as long as possible, because when you're small and desperate, you're profitable. Think about who makes money when you're broke and trying to invest. Trading platforms profit on transactions. More trades, more profit. So they gamify the interface, send notifications, show you what's trending, make you feel like you're missing out if you're not actively doing something. Financial advisors charge 1% of assets. At $10,000, they make $100 annually off you. Barely worth their time, but they'll take it because they're playing the long game. When you hit $500,000, they'll make $5,000 annually off you forever. Course sellers know when you have $15,000 and you're desperate to turn it into $100,000 fast, you'll pay $2,000 for a proven system. They know you're in pain, they know you feel behind, and they exploit that. Here's what really gets me. A 2018 CFA Institute study found that the average retail investor who actively manages their portfolio underperforms a simple index fund by 1.5% to 3% annually. What does that mean practically? If you have $20,000 and underperform by 2% annually for 10 years, you lose $4,800 compared to someone who bought an index fund and ignored it. You paid $4,800 for the privilege of being active. The system doesn't want you to understand that in the first phase, doing nothing is optimal. Because if you understood that, you wouldn't trade, wouldn't pay for courses, wouldn't subscribe to stock picking services, wouldn't generate revenue for an entire industry built on your confusion. It's not because you're financially illiterate, it's because the system is designed to make the simple path invisible. You're not broken for feeling this takes forever. You're human. You're responding rationally to a phase that is genuinely, mathematically brutal. But the system relies on you being too exhausted to do this math. They rely on you quitting at year 5. They rely on you pulling money out to buy something that makes you feel successful now instead of waiting for the machine to turn on. In 5 years, when that friend who stayed invested crosses $100,000, they'll sell you another course, tell you that you need their new strategy. They're not trying to help you get rich. They're trying to keep you poor enough to keep buying.
So what do you actually do with this information? The answer is not quit your job and live in the woods. The solution is understand which phase you're in and optimize for that phase. If you're below $100,000, here's the truth. The market cannot save you yet. Only your labor can. Let me give you 4 strategies that actually work. Strategy 1, the automation anchor. The moment you get paid, 15 to 20% disappears into investments before you see it. Not after bills, before. You make $4,000 monthly post-tax. $600 automatically transfers to investments the day your paycheck hits. You never see it, never touch it, never decide to invest. It just happens. Why this works? The biggest enemy in phase 1 isn't the market, it's you. Every month you decide to invest is a month you might talk yourself out of it. Automation removes willpower from the equation. Strategy 2, savings rate over returns. Your job in this phase is boring. High savings rate, avoid consumer debt, maximize income. Here's the math. With $20,000 invested, the difference between 7% and 12% returns is $1,000 annually. Increasing your savings rate by 5% is $2,000 plus annually for most people. Savings rate beats optimizing returns when you're small. Strategy 3, income acceleration protocol. People who hit $100,000 fast do 3 things. 1, aggressively increase income through job hopping or side hustles. A $10,000 raise contributes more in year 1 than any stock pick. 2, keep lifestyle fixed when they get raises. The raise goes straight to investments. 3, dump every windfall directly into the market. Tax refunds, bonuses, birthday money all become bricks for the fortress. Strategy 4, the long game mindset. Accept that years 1 through 7 will feel broken. Dopamine hits won't come. Your portfolio will feel flat, even growing 10% annually. You're not investing for gains yet. You're building the machine that creates gains. A 2021 Vanguard study found investors who checked portfolios daily were 2x more likely to panic sell during downturns versus those who checked quarterly. When you're small, daily volatility feels devastating. $15,000 dropping to $13,500 feels like losing rent money. At $500,000 dropping to $465,000, you know it's just Tuesday. You've seen it before. You know it comes back. Look, this journey is unfair. I won't lie and say it's even. It takes way more effort getting from 0 to 100,000 than 100,000 to 200,000. But once you understand the physics, you stop comparing yourself to people in different phases. You stop looking at your 25,000 feeling like a failure because your coworker has 200,000. They're in the snowball phase. You're in the muscle phase. Different game. You're not behind. You're exactly where everyone who built wealth started. The question isn't whether you can get to $100,000, it's whether you're willing to push through 5 to 7 years where discipline matters more than returns. Because on the other side, money works for you instead of you working for money. If this showed you why that first phase feels brutal and why it's worth pushing through, share this with someone grinding right now, someone with $18,000 saved who feels like quitting. You're not broken. The physics are just brutal at the start. But once you break through, everything changes.